What's up, everyone? Welcome to Pat's Chat. I'm Doug Kyed, joined as always by Michael Hurley. Michael, how are you doing today?
Emergency podcast, Doug. The Denver Nuggets have fired head coach Mike Malone. That's crazy. I'm doing well, but I do want to warn you. We'll
Yes.
podcast as long as we podcast. If you see me disappear, it's because I was eating lunch and I
Okay.
made some eggs and
Okay.
an English muffin.
Okay.
And mid bite, I was like, that doesn't taste good. Oh
Ooh.
well, power through. And then I took another bite and I was like, no. And I spit it out and it was just a green, moldy English muffin.
Ugh.
So I don't know how much of that I ate. I looked it up. It should be fine. But, if I do disappear, it's because the mold has decided otherwise.
Well, that's good to know.
Might
Hopefully
actually be an emergency podcast if that happens.
there might be an emergency inside the podcast, an emergency podcast bathroom break. But I have some news. I haven't said this to like the internets or anything like that. I won our March Madness pool.
I actually knew that.
I
That's
don't think I've ever won one of those things before. I went basically as chalk as humanly possible,
mhm.
and I won the whole damn thing.
Good year to go chalk. Good year to have Florida, knowing that Houston would just simply stop scoring in the final 3 minutes of the game, where their offense was just like, I don't know, maybe something good will happen. Try to
Yeah,
score. Just run into that guy. Oh, it didn't work. That was. I had no dog in the fight. I didn't even enter any brackets, and I was frustrated watching that game. But I'm sure for you, it was very exciting.
I was psyched. Like everything really broke my way from the like Elite Eight all the way, and because I had the entire Final Four picked, I had the national championship picked. For some reason, so I was in a second one as well, and for some reason I like switched that one up a
Mm.
little bit. But otherwise, I would have won both. In that one, I finished second, so I was still killing it overall. But I know nothing about college basketball. But after the conference championships, I was like, that Florida team seems pretty good. Maybe I'll pick them.
College hoops chat. You don't know that much about college hoops, neither do I. But do you know that if you have two hands on the basketball and you
Hmm.
leave the ground and you're midair, even if you're gonna get blocked, you should probably shoot it, right? Not just leave it next to you to let the puck
Yeah.
run out. And even
Shouldn't
if you
just
do
drop it
that,
next to you.
but if you do that, you could just touch it and then they're gonna blow the whistle, stop the clock. Then you could foul and continue the game instead of just standing there and watching the national championship slip away from you. So that was nuts. I actually watched that
Yeah.
with your podcast. You're my podcast partner. I watched it with your professional partner,
My other
Andrew
partner.
Callahan
Yeah.
at NBC. We were watching it after the program, and that was wild. That was like Chris Webber-ish. It felt like.
Yeah, it was yeah, Chris Webber-ish, a little bit reminiscent even I would say of like Cam Newton in the Super Bowl like not diving on the football.
Yeah.
Even though like that one's like
Oh,
that one you're not having to worry about a rule in the middle of it, but it's still like you got to do something in that moment, you know.
that was the possession beforehand when Florida just threw it away, right? Or was it? No, it was
Yeah,
after that. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Like he backed away as if it was a Sunday morning rec league, 45-year-olds, just trying to get their heart rates up. It was like, dude, it's not. You can go for the ball, man. That
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah. 100%. But otherwise, let's talk about a mock draft that I did for the internet. Um, I know we talked about this a little bit on last week's show, but the more and more people are reporting, the less and less it seems like Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter will be there at number 4 overall for the Patriots. Which, if you're a Patriots fan, I know that there's no point in relitigating this or even thinking about it, but like that Week 18 win,
Mm.
maybe it winds up working out for the Patriots. Like maybe the 4th overall pick winds up being better than Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, but it does sting a little bit right now that they would be sitting with the number 1 overall pick saying we can get Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, maybe even trade with the Titans, maybe trade with a quarterback needy team to get Cam Ward. But now instead, they're sitting at the 4th overall pick in what seems to be a 2 to 3 player draft.
And you just said it, but it's you would have had the number one pick in a one quarterback draft. For
Right.
everything that's coming about it, Shadur Sanders. My armchair evaluations being proven correct on a grand scale. That it's just like, I don't know that I want to pick him. And now he still could go top five,
He could, yeah.
because things get silly. But to have the number one pick and to already have your quarterback in a one quarterback draft, you're looking at, like, let's realistically play it out. What was lost that day? And I know nobody wants to do this, but I don't care. You have the number one pick right now. You have teams like Tennessee, probably Cleveland, probably the Giants are all QB
Hmm.
needy teams. You have the Raiders, you have the Saints, you have probably someone else in the top 10 I'm not thinking of.
Jets. Did you say the Jets?
I did not say the Jets. Yeah, so yeah, and like who knows, maybe there's at least a half dozen teams conservatively, probably
Hmm.
8 to 10 teams that want Cam Ward that would be talking to you. They're going to give up their top 10 pick, probably attach a second to it, and then next year's one, something like that.
For a quarterback, yeah. I mean, that's the going rate. I know it's not a typical draft, but I think that's what you would expect out of it. Yeah.
I want to go back to the 2021 draft because someone I know that the Niners moved up right from
Yeah.
10
Maybe even
from
further
10 right,
back. Yeah, they traded up for Trey Lance. Yeah.
which was a great deal. That was a first, so they're 12th. They were 12th.
12th. Yep.
Also a first and third from that year, and also a first from 2023. So they say three firsts, but really it's two firsts and a third,
Right. To
which
move up. Yeah.
is so. And that was to go from 12 to three.
Yeah.
If you look at anything to one, I was undershooting it there. That's you're getting another first and another third. It's
Right. I
just
mean, the
it's
Panthers traded up that much for Bryce Young, who, like, I know that Bryce Young was thought of highly at the time, but like Cam Ward and Bryce Young aren't that dramatically different of prospects.
yeah. And I think what I'm trying to get at, what I should have started with, is that the reason it will be hard to lay out or even evaluate years from now whether it worked out. You said maybe it'll work out for the Patriots. Like in that sense, maybe Travis Hunter's not a great NFL player. Maybe Abdul Carter, maybe that foot thing's a real problem. He never
Hmm.
gets over it, and you end up getting a player who's on your team for 10 years. You still can't really look at it that way because you're talking about two more first round picks
Right.
and another top
Yeah.
100 pick over the course of 2 or 3 years, like a real franchise rebuild situation that you won't be able to have.
But because of that game, they were able to move up 47 spots from the seventh round to the fifth round. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Sick.
two first round picks, moving up 47 spots. Who's the real winner there? I have a proposal for you. I have a question for you. So, if the Patriots are sitting there at number 4 overall, and if we assume that Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are gone, and if a team picking below the Patriots, let's call it the Raiders, Jets, and Saints, that's the who's fifth?
I'll tell you in a second. It's the Jaguars,
Okay, so
Raiders,
they don't need a quarterback.
Jets.
Raiders, Jets, or Saints. If the Raiders, Jets, or Saints really want Shadur Sanders or Jackson Dart, and the Patriots say, we'll let you trade up and give us like 10 cents on the dollar. Like, we will give you the greatest trade up in the history of man to come get your quarterback. You don't have to worry about fretting at the ninth overall pick or the sixth or seventh.
Hmm.
Give us like a third round pick and we'll let you move up to number 4. Would you take that?
Yeah, because I think that guy you're getting at 4, and we've been through this a lot, is not going to be your franchise-altering player. So if you can get that guy or another guy of similar value at 6, while I think the picks are so important at this time, that I do think, and now it's tricky because I don't know how much you trust Elliott Wolf in that negotiation. I've yet to see anything that makes me think like, oh, that Wolf's a real humdinger of a deal maker, you know.
Matt Judon trade.
But
Matt Judon trade.
that was good. That
Yeah.
was a good one. But yeah, I mean, if you look at say the Raiders, like they're right there with the Patriots in the second and the third rounds.
Right.
One of those, yeah, I think if you're the Patriots, you would do it just because of the unique. I don't want to say. I don't. It's like a mid draft. It's not a draft with 8 popping guys.
Yeah.
That 4 to 10 area, there's going to be a lot of guys that are intriguing, that are interesting, that are almost like. It just came to my mind. If you draft a running back in the top 10, he's a specialist. That's like drafting a specialist. It's like it's not team building necessarily.
Yeah.
It's like you got a playmaker, and teams might want him. So there's opportunities there that I think you'll be able to get one of those guys and add to your talent pool, which is necessary.
So the looking at the Rich Hill trade value chart, if the Raiders gave up their third round pick and number 6 overall. It's actually that would be wind up actually being a beneficial deal for the Patriots. I'm taking that 6 ways from Sunday.
Right.
Like I don't need a future first to trade out of that spot. I would take a third round pick this year or a future second to move down to 6, because if you're going to wind up taking Will Campbell or Armand Membu there anyway, you can get one of those guys at 6. I don't think the Jaguars might take a tackle at 5. I don't know. Probably not. So I mean, I would do it, and I would even potentially consider even less, like future third. It kind of sucks. You feel like a team is pulling a fast one on you, but if you're going to take the same player at 4 as you would at 6, and you can get an extra draft pick out of it, I'm probably doing the deal.
Yeah, yeah. No, and it's if Gerard Mayo's issue, one of them, was that he looked at his situation as a multi-year build,
Right.
and that sort of laissez-faire attitude ended up sinking him in the end. So I don't know. Like, I think Rabel will have more string, but we said the same thing last year. Like, there's no way they'll dump a coach after 1 year.
Right.
So there is a sense of you don't want to necessarily push things off down the road and take a future third or a future second. However, realistically, I think Vrabel's going to do a better job. I think they're going to win more games this year and have just their act together more, that you can confidently say, all right, you make this move, and in a 2-year, 3-year window, it improves the team.
Right. Yeah, I think I like that. If they do stick at 4, though, they've got a few options. I know we talked about some of these before, but it's basically like Will Campbell, Armand Membu, Mason Graham, Jalen Walker, Ashton Genty, and Tyler Warren. I don't think I'm missing anyone in there. It stinks, but there's just not a guy that I'm like pounding the table for currently in that group, because Will Campbell, we've talked about it, major outlier with his arm length and his wingspan. Armand Membu, you're going to have to switch from right tackle to left tackle, which is not a guarantee. Running back and tight end, Ashton Genty and Tyler Warren, bad positional value. Mason Graham and Jalen Walker, I should say, both undersized.
I want to add to your
Kind of
list
stinks.
because I just double checked you because I like to fact check you, live fact check, like we're doing a presidential debate. So I just searched top draft prospects. PFF put out a list today. The date line is today at 5:15 a.m. Of their top draft picks. Do you know who their third ranked draft pick is?
Ooh, this will be fun. Let me guess. Their third ranked draft pick.
They ranked all prospects.
Is it
I'll give you one.
Shamar Stewart?
No. Number 1's Travis Hunter.
Okay.
Number 2 is Abdul Carter. Number 3 is Ted McMillan. And that's
That
a
is-
name you didn't mention. So that one,
That is bold.
that is bold. Because then you got Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, Will Campbell, Jahdae Barron, the cornerback from Texas,
Yeah.
Tyler Warren, Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia, and then Jihad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama. So I don't know. They spent so much on defense and free agency that I would think if you can, and they just need high level talent on offense. That
Yeah.
I think I'm leaning one of those offensive guys. And you did it last year at quarterback, and it worked out. You got a very talented player who looks like he's going to have a career in the league. I would normally hate a running back or a tight end at 4, but this year I'm okay with it. I really feel like it's one of those things where they're gonna draft someone and everyone's gonna react, and I have to be fair. I'm gonna be like, you had to pick someone, and if they end up with a running back or a tight end, who's both of whom seem to be, I'm not saying they're gonna be elite. They have elite potential. It's definitely intriguing, even if it's not. I just think you can get. I don't want to contradict myself. You can usually get offensive tackles in the second round or late in the first.
Yeah.
If you move up.
Yeah.
So I would advocate for taking whoever there if you can't negotiate a trade, and then work like hell to move up from the top of the second round back into the first round, because that, I think, was their cardinal sin last year. They made their first pick, and then they just sat there.
They just sat there until and then they traded down. Yeah.
All the tackles were gone. I think
Yeah.
by the time they got Caden Wallace, what was he, the 10th tackle taken or
Something like
something
that. It
like
was
that.
pretty crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
So that is where, if you can't make a move at 4, take whoever, boost the offense, and then work like hell to trade up from your second round into the first round and get an offensive tackle that isn't the 7th or 8th tackle taken.
I don't hate the idea. I was on Andrew Callahan's podcast last week, and I swear our debate was like 20 minutes long. And we had a similar conversation last week of I was saying that if in that scenario where you're picking between Genty and Warren, I would rather take Genty. He was fully on I would rather take Warren. And his case was essentially like the Patriots don't have the offensive line infrastructure for a running back to have his full value at the number 4, like to take him there. And I just think that a running back is a better guarantee to give you production than a tight end. And I also think that like it's a little bit short-sighted to say like Patriots offensive line kind of stinks, so we shouldn't take a player who could succeed in the future. And that's fair. I can't imagine Tyler Warren making as big of an impact in the offense as Ashton Genty, even though I think that both positional value is not great.
Yeah, and we did a fight on the TV last night, and he referenced your podcast dispute.
Yeah.
Because I said that about Genty, and his point is well taken that
Right.
any running back can't succeed behind a bad offensive line. Sure, but the offensive line should be a step better than it was,
Yeah.
and it should be a continued area of improvement
Right.
in terms of what they target. So it's not like, oh, well, the offensive line is bad right now. You can't take an elite level running back potentially. Right. And just to clean something up that I said, because when I listen to stuff and people get stuff wrong, it drives me nuts, so I want to correct it. They obviously made the Jalen Polk pick and then sat around for Kyed and
Yes.
Wallace.
Yeah.
Which he was the 14th tackle taken.
14. 1, 2,
14th
3.
tackle taken. So that's the thing where I'm looking at the Patriots this year. They're at what, 37, 38? 38.
Yeah.
If you can finagle away to get into the high 20s or low 20s, however you, I guess the low 20s. That's a matter of perspective. 20 to 24 in
Right.
that area, and you can get a tackle that might be able to play right as a rookie. That's where I would target.
Yeah, it is last year. I mean, once again, no point in like relitigating a draft from last year, but like in that run from 55 to 67, when Patrick Paul, Blake Fisher, Roger Rosengarten, Kingsley Suamataia, and Brandon Coleman all went off the board, it was like, you guys have to do something.
Yep.
Like you guys have to make a move now, because then they were forced to take Kane Wallace, and we'll see how that pick winds up panning out in the future. In year 1, he barely played because of injury, but also didn't win the left or right tackle job coming out of training camp, which kind of tells you where he was at that point.
Right. And that was such a weird draft for us being, no one cares about us, Doug, but you know what? It's our podcast. We can talk about us.
Everyone
Just
cares
sitting
about us.
there,
Yeah.
because for anyone that doesn't know, covering a Patriots draft with Bill Belichick in charge was like 6 Red Bulls, a C4, 3 coffees, because you were going to have to write 8,000 words an hour at all the trades that were going.
Right.
Trades that felt like at times like they were made for the sake of making trades. Like trading a fit, like being at like 271 and trading down to 278 for like, and also throwing in next year's 7th while getting next year's 6th and a 5th back. And it was just like,
Yeah.
what do we, but last year was the complete opposite, is the point I was trying to make, where it was just like they sat there, they waited their turn. It was like a fantasy draft. Like you wait your turn, you make your pick. You wait your turn, you make your pick. And it was like, you guys could be way more active. Do you want me to do PFF's top tackles while I'm here?
Well, I did want to say something about Bill Belichick draft while we were on the topic, and before I forget, my dumbest take is that, and like this is not reporting. This is just my dumb brain believing this. I really think that he traded the pick that they got for Jimmy Garoppolo as many times as he did, so that you could not tie it back to Jimmy Garoppolo. Like they traded that pick and all of the surrounding picks. Like there's like 15 different guys that they took based off that one, and they were packaging. So like they completely destroyed any web that you could get back to Jimmy Garoppolo, and it feels like that was intentional.
Yeah, and that trade was what, 2017 or 2018? 2017.
2017,
2017
2018 draft.
Halloween.
Yeah.
I wrote April 25th, 2020. Finally, the Patriots Jimmy Garoppolo trade return tree is complete for now. So like I had a notebook and
Yeah.
I had a web, and I know Jeff Howe did the same thing. And our results were different. I don't remember exactly how, because Jeff considered something that I maybe considered
Oh my
differently. Like
God.
there was room for
Yes.
interpretation. So I do agree with that.
There was Hurley's version and Howe's version.
We could do an entire podcast on just the Jimmy G tree. I'm gonna send you. I don't know if it might not. You might not be able to bring this up, but I'm gonna send you the tweet with the picture in it. I don't think you.
Oh
can
my
bring that
God.
because it's like it is kind of like a beautiful mind situation where you look at 43 turn into 51 and 17, 105, 83. So basically, the Patriots traded Garoppolo and a ton of draft capital, getting I can't even Duke Dawson. Not Peak. Sam. Who was Sam? I don't know. I said PK Sam. It was not quite. A linebacker, right? Sam.
Sam?
All
We
right.
didn't take
either
Michael
way.
Sam.
Nope. Joanne Williams, Damian Harris, Yodny Kajus, Jared Stidham, and a 2024 from Chicago. I don't know. There was room for interpretation, but that was crazy. Jeff gave me a hard time in that, but like Jeff, I was on that beat just as hard.
Oh, Christian Sam. Christian Sam. Good Lord.
Sam.
Forgot about his existence.
Yeah, but that was I agree with you on that, because he knew that people were going to be like, oh, you traded Jimmy G and only got blank.
Yeah.
And instead it was you traded Jimmy. I don't know what you got, man. But I was going to give you the top ranked tackles for this year on PFF. Ready?
Yeah.
So Will Campbell is number one. He's the 6th ranked prospect overall. So if you take, this is one big board. If you take the 6th ranked prospect at 4, it's not a huge overspend. They do have Mason Graham at 4.
Yeah, this is my friend Trevor Sycam's board.
I have yet to see a quarterback. Like, how far down does Cam Ward show up? I don't know. Oh, 18. 18? Sorry. I saw it for a second. 20. So Cam Ward's at 20 on this big board.
Yeah.
So he's going to go number 1. So go from there. But anyways, Will Campbell's 6th. Armand Membu is 11th.
Mm-hmm.
So he's your 2nd ranked one. And then next is Josh Simmons from Ohio State. He's at 17.
Coming off
He's
the
ahead
injury.
of Kelvin Banks. Ahead of Kelvin Banks at 19. And then I think we might have a little gap here. We might not see. Okay, Gray Zabel from North Dakota State.
Yeah, but
I'll
I
be
think
honest,
that he's a potential guard.
he's got everything but elite arm length to the position. Easy projected starter at center or guard. So scratch him off the list. And then you have Josh Connolly at Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
He's the 36th. So like someone that's where you might start looking in that 20 range. Maybe the last 3 guys I mentioned, where maybe those guys are just as good, if not better, than Will Campbell, because arm length is the most important fact in the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's a guarantee that they can stick a tackle, then at least you know that you're taking a tackle, even if that player doesn't have necessarily as high of an upside, doesn't necessarily like have the Pro Bowl, All-Pro potential. But yeah, I mean, like Josh Simmons coming off the injury, Kelvin Banks, he's another guy who's like a little bit shorter, doesn't have ideal arm length. It's just like not a great year to need a left tackle, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I think that is one path. You take whoever you think is the best possible player at number 4, and then you have to trade back up in the first round to get your tackle. In my mock draft, which you can read at bostonherald.com, I did have them taking Will Campbell at number 4. It just felt like the cleanest. It felt cleanest.
Boo! We need to go back, Doug. Steve Palazzolo. I think you introduced me to him like 25 years ago.
He's my cousin Steve.
No kidding.
Well,
he's
my cousin by a stepdaughter and by marriage. So he's like my step cousin-in-law.
It gets confusing. Either way, he was tweeting out. He likes to watch old drafts and live tweet them, which is always fun. And I got to see the McNabb pick the other day, and it's like, what's that Taylor Swift line that became a meme like over the summer? It was like, I was raised in this weird place or whatever.
Yeah.
That's how I felt watching Eagles fans dressed up at the draft, booing the hell out of the McNabb pick. Just like, you either lived it or you didn't, and I'm so glad I did. But yeah, that would be me. That should be the, not that I dislike Will Campbell, seems like a good NFL player.
Right.
But after all this, that would certainly be a letdown. I think I'm
You're
almost
going to Green Bay,
preferring
paint the face silver, and you're just booing the hell out of it.
just go back to Radio City. Like it was perfect.
No,
Like why do we have to
what was
change that?
perfect? My biggest boomer take is that I missed the Saturday Sunday draft.
Yeah,
Because like
Saturday was
we still
great.
have to work on the weekend during the draft now.
Yeah,
It doesn't need to be 3 days. Not everything needs to be in prime time. It was for the true nerds when it was Saturday and Sunday.
correct.
Yeah.
Can I? Oh, so that was your. I don't want to steal your mock draft thunder. So
No, I mean it's the safest, most boring pick. I don't even know if they value him that highly. That remains to be seen. But you need a left tackle, and last year they kind of like I don't know. They played it cute. They waited around. They missed out, and you don't really have that option this year. Like when Mike Vrabel was asked, "What's your current plan at left tackle?" and you mentioned Caden Wallace and Varian Lowe, like that's all you really need to know is that like that's the current plan.
mm-hmm.
So they need some sort of first or very early second round talent to be playing left tackle, and you can't risk a run on those guys happening midway through the first round and missing out.
Yeah. What I would do if I was writing currently, so instead I'll pretend I'm your assignment editor. Like I just kept scanning the list there, and like Donovan Jackson from Ohio State is their 49th ranked
Yeah.
prospect overall. I would start profiling those guys and start drawing up the trade up to 20 something, and say this is your tackle. But instead, you're taking Will Campbell. It's a risk because then what do you do next? What's your second pick?
My second pick was Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. He's an edge defender. Fun fact about Nick Scorton, he's not going to turn 21 until August 25th. A lot of upside. Played well at Texas A&M in the SEC. Played well at Purdue in the Big Ten. Edge. Patriots have some bodies there. They've got Harold Landry. They've got Caleb on Chason. They've got Keon White. But their pass rush was so bad last year that I still think that you need to add a young, dynamic pass rusher, someone who can thrive in the defense for years to come. I know it's not necessarily filling the biggest immediate need, but I like a lot of those pass rushers who are around late in the first round, early in the second round. And I believe Scorton took a 30 visit with the Patriots. So there's at least some level of interest there as well.
All right, fine.
I know you're probably bored by that pick, but let me tell you, I got something
Fine.
exciting coming up.
What's that?
Remember that
Your
fifth round
third
pick the Patriots just acquired for Joe Milton?
Oh, I like this. What do we got?
I'm packaging that in the 69th overall pick. I'm only moving up five picks by moving into the bottom of the second round to take Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris. How you like them apples? X receiver type body. He's like 6'2", 205. Another fun fact about him: he played 8 games last season. Had some injuries. He had 1,000 yards. 1,000 yards in 8 games? That's pretty good. Helped by Jackson Dart, but I want to add someone else to that wide receiver room. I don't want to bank on Jalen Polk and Javon Baker and all those guys pulling
Why
through.
not? What happened?
Gets a little boring after that just because it's later rounds. But later in the third round, took Dylan Sampson, Tennessee running back. He's got good speed, 5'8", 200 pounds, kind of one of those third down backs. Defensive tackle CJ West in the fourth round. This is a fun one. Tight end in the fifth round. Aronde Gadsden the second.
Oh, you gotta love the next generation of players we used to watch.
Mike Vrabel used to play against Aronde Gadsden the first, former Dolphins wide receiver. His son.
Great name, by the way. That's like there's certain
It
names
is.
that just evoke late '90s, early 2000s, and that is one. We could do a whole podcast on that too, like late '90s, early 2000s baseball names and
true.
football names.
But Aronde Gadsden, more productive than I thought he was with the Dolphins. He had like a really good 4 or 5 year stretch where he got like 800 yards a season. His son started his career at Syracuse as a wide receiver, converted to tight end. So not the biggest guy, but he had 2 900-yard seasons in college, which is nothing to sneeze at. And I just think they need a young body to add to that tight end room. Ideally, someone you're not taking the first round. Beyond that, Curtis Rourke, quarterback out of Indiana. And then I took a kicker in the 7th round, Andres Borregales. Don't know
Are
how to pronounce his
you
name.
up to date on his tattoos?
Ooh,
Have you done
no.
your research? Because
That
gotta
was
check.
that was an issue in the past. Yeah,
That was crazy. We could do a whole podcast on that. We've got ideas just shooting off.
you've
Like,
got
how do
two
you draft a
topics
kicker?
already.
Three. Jimmy G,
Yeah,
the
yeah, Jimmy
'90s
G.
names, and the Justin Rohrwasser saga, which was crazy. You know what the funniest part of that was? Not to totally derail you in your mock draft, but you're
No,
getting
no, I
toward the
was done
end.
with my mock draft. I'm down to
Oh,
talk to Rohrwasser. What was the
is they
funniest
were
part
like,
that he also sucked as a kicker?
he wasn't good, but he was like, yeah, or there was a statement that was like, yeah, the tattoos have been removed, and he just started wearing long sleeves, and then went on IR and was never seen again. It's like he didn't get his tattoo; he started wearing sleeves.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was wild because like it just felt like there was a lack of research done there. You know,
Right.
like a
And
lack
what
of
we
like
know,
Bill Belichick was so like he was so precise about everything, but then like that one slipped through the cracks somehow. You know.
and after in the world of post Aaron Hernandez, like stuff like knowing tattoo meanings took on a little bit more meaning
Right.
after that. You would think, and
Yeah.
that was what like the 3%ers were tied to security at Charlottesville, right? Like that's what the
Right.
major controversial point was. And it's like maybe if it was addressed and proactively discussed, but instead it was like I think it was Henry on the call, like, "What's up with your?" Because immediately after he was drafted, it was like all over Twitter. So
Yeah.
within 10 minutes, it was like, "What's up with your tattoo?" And then what did he say? Like, I didn't even know. I thought it was a cool. He's like, I thought it was a cool tattoo.
Yeah. Yeah. He, like pretended to not know what the meaning was, and then
Right.
yeah, the statement was through. I think it was through Steve Burton, wasn't it? At the time,
He
they
did
said
an
that they
interview
were
with Steve,
removed.
and he cried on the interview,
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
which was like, "What are you doing?" I don't think he was cut out for the NFL.
Another one, like if I had to sit down with Bill Belichick, this would probably be I don't know the 207th question I would ask him. But in 2015, they drafted a linebacker named Matthew Wells in the 6th round, and he was blind in one eye. I just want to know if they knew that when they took him,
Mm,
because he was traded like months later.
mm.
Yeah.
Probably not. But you take some swings late in the draft. I do want to
So they
say your
drafted
second.
him in April and they traded him in August.
What they get for him?
Can't imagine very much.
Your guy Nick Scorton he's 33rd on PFF's big board.
There we
So
go.
that's pretty good. That would
Not
be
bad.
decent value if you get him in 38. So a player who can disrupt in a mass pressure, but won't be a high sack count rusher. But nobody knows. That's fair value. So it's interesting. They
Where's
do
my guy Trey
well.
Harris?
Is that
68.
TRE? Okay.
So I'm like right in line with Trevor Sikkema with these draft values.
Something that I found interesting from this, and again, this is just one big board, is while we talk about, oh, will the Giants or Browns be intrigued to get Shadur Sanders? He's 45th on this big board. So I would say probably not. As dumb as teams get, like was
Yeah.
Bo Nix 45th on last year's big board? I don't think so.
No. Where's Jackson Dart? Jackson Dart's 134. Oh my
That's
word.
low. Yeah. So maybe teams won't get as dumb as you would hope if you're the Patriots in terms of getting silly up there, but still, you never know. Maybe there is that scenario where they can trade it for 10 cents on the dollar, like you said.
Wow, he has Tyler Show 186th on his draft board as well. Shows one of the oldest prospects in the class and has an extensive injury history, but his size and arm talent are adequate enough to earn him a shot as an NFL backup. The old quarterback has never worked, right?
What, drafted at like
Y-
20 something? 24?
Yeah. Well,
Never?
Tyler Show is going to be 26 in September.
That's pretty old.
Brandon Whedon, Chris Wanke,
I'm trying to look up how old Wanky was when he was drafted.
I think he was 28, or maybe he might have been 27. Brandon Whedon, I think, was 28. It's just us Googling now.
2001, he was born in 72. That makes him 28. Yeah, he was 28. That's sick. No,
Brandon
that doesn't make sense.
Whedon was 28. He turned 29 in October of his rookie season.
I have an old quarterback question for you while we're
Hmm.
here because I've been driving around in the car all weekend, Monday, not today so much, but somehow the Joe Milton trade has become an indictment on Drake May. So I have to ask you, as someone who
Yeah.
left the combine and wrote a well sourced story with your colleague Andrew Callahan, that really hinted that this was coming, that really suggested Milton believes he's a starter. Uh, and the takeaway for me was that he may not be long for this roster.
Hmm.
Um,
And then he wasn't.
and now it's become, well, are they coddling Drake May? Is Drake May a baby for needing or wanting this guy out? Can you maybe add any details to what went into your reporting on Joe Milton and what was going on behind the scenes? Because I have found the current discussion to be annoying.
So what we heard at the time was that like Milton's not a bad guy. He just wouldn't be able to do what Jacoby Brissett did as a backup, and probably like might not be. I don't even know if it was put this way, but like wouldn't have the experience to do it, and like I think there's a selflessness that someone like Jacoby Brissett had to like put aside his ego and like the issues that he had to then also just sit there on the sideline and be like, hey, this is something that you could have done differently, blah, blah, blah. This is something that I saw to help out Drake May. And I think that Joshua Dobbs, at this point of his career, and probably for his entire career, has that same selflessness. He's been experienced, he's been around. If you've got Joe Milton in there, and like if the reporting's true that like that's not even like there was also that he like wants the opportunity to be a starter in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So like if that's the case and you're keeping him around as a three, as a third quarterback, I don't know, like it just doesn't seem worth the any potential annoyances. As,
Mm-hmm.
like if he's not going to be doing the job of a backup quarterback and you still have to sign a backup quarterback, then like yeah, I guess he's still got potential and everything like that. But like I don't think it's necessarily a Drake May thing. I think it's more of a Joe Milton thing.
That's my inclination too, but I didn't have that sweet reporting, so I was just going off feel and vibes.
Well, and then like I mean, this isn't to say anything negative about colleagues and everything like that, but like Ben Volen, I think, reported that a source at the combine told him that Drake May's family wasn't a fan of Joe Milton being drafted.
Right.
I mean, it's fine. It's an interesting nugget. It's an interesting detail. And, but if you're not getting that from Drake May's family, then like you're taking a leap to believe. I don't know, you know?
Yeah. The timing of
It's,
it
yeah.
is suspect, that's all. Because it was, I heard last month that this happened. It was like, well, last month it wasn't out, and now that he's gone, it's out. It feels like it wasn't as solid as it could be.
Right. Yeah.
But
Like, and that's
I'm
a
sure that,
big,
like, no,
like,
but
that's kind of a big report to
but
say,
even
like,
that, no, but I don't want to like even dismiss the factual nature of it because like if I was drafted to play a position and then someone else was drafted to play a drift, my mom wouldn't like that, you know.
right. Yeah.
So
But it also doesn't say that anything that, like, that you feel the same way about it, you know?
right. It's more about what that report is being turned into, which is Drake May is a spoiled Gen Z baby who needs no
Right.
competition and can't be pushed. And it's all that. And it's like, have you ever met Drake May? Because that I don't think it's a put on when he steps up and is just kind of a dude. Like he strikes me
Right.
as a dude, a locker room guy.
Yeah.
As corny as it was when he was like, "Give it up for the defense." I don't think it. There's just having seen a quarterback who was trying his best to fake it and be
Yeah.
cool for a couple years.
Right.
It doesn't seem if he's faking it, he's really good at it. So he doesn't seem like the type of guy who's like stomping his feet, crossing his arms, and pouting.
Right.
Which is what it's been turned into.
I also, like, I love my family. I share many of the same beliefs as my family, but I wouldn't want anything that my family believes or thinks about me or my job or my situation to reflect poorly on me or to say that I agree with any of it. Cause I'm sure like when like Olivia is 23 and she's got a job, I'm probably gonna be like, they should promote her. They should make her the manager. She should be the CEO. Like, of course
Right.
you think that as a parent or as a family member. Like, you want the best for your family members, but when you're in this situation, you're probably a lot more realistic about it and actually know the inner workings of what's going on. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're in meetings, and you're the face of the franchise.
It's
Like
like,
it's
mom, I'm
not
not gonna get benched because they drafted Joe Milton. Okay.
right.
like,
I've always,
calm down.
I was used to say my grandmother should have been my agent. Not that I've ever had an agent, but she like I was in college writing in the college newspaper, and she's like, "You're better than everyone at the Boston Globe," and I'm like, "I'm not better than everyone at the Hawks Herald, but I appreciate the support." And yeah,
I'm gonna write that though, that Grandma Hurley thinks that he's a better writer than everyone at the Boston Globe.
yeah,
Put that in
my
there.
grandmother. It's actually Gannett. I was on the other side, but you can get the
Sorry.
source off the record later.
Yeah. All right. That works. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm a little bit tired of the Joe Milton stuff. Like, could they have gotten more? Maybe, but they didn't. So I guess they couldn't have. Like,
I'll say it
it
again, Doug. He was the ninth quarterback taken a year
that's the
ago,
thing.
and he played. What was his preseason? It wasn't very good, and he played a fake football game in
Right.
January where the team on the other side was trying harder than I've ever seen a team. Like I watched the Colts tank for Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
The Bills tried harder to lose that one game than I've ever seen a team try to lose a game.
I wish I didn't say they could have gotten more because I don't think they could have gotten more because if they could have gotten more, then they would have gotten more. I understand the disappointment that the Patriots had to trade their highest seventh round pick and Joe Milton for the Cowboys' lower fifth round pick. Like, yeah, that stinks, but
Mm-hmm.
it's what they thought was best. And at this point, I don't know. I mean, I don't think there was a ton of value in keeping Joe Milton around. I 9 times out of 10, I don't think he's going to have like an exemplary NFL starting career. And I've said it before, I'm 100% willing to be wrong about that. But
Yeah.
32 other NFL teams a year ago agreed with me. And a lot of them agreed with me this offseason too, that this wasn't some sort of player that you had to trade a third round pick for.
I think what people are mad about is they're like, you took a sixth round pick and got the equivalent of a sixth round pick this year. And it's like, well, you didn't lose value in it. And I guess the
Right.
position makes it more valuable. And then the other one, which I've heard, and maybe we can workshop this live, is let him play the preseason, have a great preseason, and then trade him at the end of camp. And it's like, I don't know that that's going to happen. And
Right.
B, you're going to get better than a fifth round pick. Maybe at best, you don't have to attach the seventh rounder to it.
It's also a
Yeah.
future fifth at that point, so that lowers the
Exactly.
value. Plus,
Right.
like this idea that he was 1,000% going to have a amazing preseason. Didn't he have some like he had one good preseason game last year?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know
To
that.
start the preseason, he was 4 for 6 for 54 yards with the touchdown, and he ran 5 times for 22 yards. The next week against the Eagles, he was 2 for 7 for 20 yards, took 2 sacks, three rushes for 9 yards, and fumbled. And then the final game against the Commanders, he was 5 for 17
Yeah.
for 78 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, ran 3 times for 23 yards, 5 for 17. So in total, he was 11 for 30.
He
in the
had a
preseason.
36.7 completion percentage in the preseason last year.
Yeah.
Like he did that again this year, then you're not getting a fifth round pick for him. Like I don't know. And
Yeah.
and this idea
And
that
again, it
teams are
helps you
dying to trade for
now.
quarterbacks in August, like they've got their room settled at that point. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
there could be injuries, but no one's gonna trade for Joe Milton being like he's gonna be our starter.
And answer me this. Again, this is a live workshop. How many season-ending injuries to quarterbacks do you see in the pre? Like I remember Tony Romo got hurt. That's how Dak Prescott got his start. But
Yeah.
in terms of quarterbacks suffering an injury that changes the GM's attention to the quarterback room, that's not really.
JJ McCarthy did get hurt last year. I will say that.
Okay. Teddy Bridgewater, was that a camp one?
That might have been a camp one, yeah. So like it
Okay.
does happen, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not every year. You're not seeing 5 quarterbacks go down with season-ending injuries in training camp every year.
Right. So yeah, it just seems. I get it. I said it last podcast. It's the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Gets an what's the word? Disproportionate level of interest, attention, and all that. And when you have a guy like Drake May with some questions entering year 2, it can be blown up. I find it all ridiculous. And I think what it really is post-traumatic zappy disorder for me, where it's
I
like
know.
I spent a year or two following that nonsense, and it's just like, can I don't want to be rude, Doug, but like this isn't just to like anyone in particular. Can we grow up? Like, can we just grow up? Like, it's just some of the nonsense that comes from it. Like, yes, there are very real things to talk about, and then you choose to like invent silly, childish soap opera stuff that probably has no basis in reality. It's
One of the
tiring.
more interesting aspects of this is that it would be easy to blame Tom Brady and be like, yes, the Patriots did once draft a quarterback in the seventh round who
Oh
wound up
my
being the
god.
greatest quarterback of all time. And so it would be very easy to say, like, Patriots fans only feel this way because they've seen it happen once. But they did. We all did this with Michael Bishop in like 1999 also,
Mm-hmm.
where like
Yeah.
there was as much hype about Bishop in 99 as there is with Milton in 2025. And there actually wasn't that level of hype around Brady until he actually played in games. But like we saw it with Zappy. I think there was some Castle people back in 2008. I mean, I remember, I think it was 2011. I went to a Patriots training camp practice like to sit in the stands, and there was still a guy there who was Team Bledsoe over Brady. So people do just go crazy when it comes to quarterbacks.
You know, you can't prove that Bledsoe wouldn't have won all those Super Bowls. So
Yep.
credit to that guy. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those things, and you can say Milton was bad in college. He was evaluated by 32 NFL teams. He went in the sixth round. He was the ninth quarterback taken in a draft where a lot of quarterbacks went early.
Yeah.
Um, and then immediately someone's going to come back like Brady was a sixth round pick too. What about him? It's like, gotcha. First of all, name another one before him, and name someone after him that was taken. Like in terms of late round quarterbacks, you have Dak Prescott in the fourth.
Right.
It's an anomaly when a guy
Brock
can even
Purdy. Yeah.
right, and we'll
Yeah.
see what Brock Purdy is this year, where the Niners have traded half their roster. So
Right.
it's the anomaly, it's the exception that you have to also be like, you can't run a team and be like, well, we can't get rid of this player because Tom Brady one time came out
Right.
of nowhere and really improved.
Yeah.
Also, Tom Brady wasn't 24 when he was drafted, so there's a lot of things at play there.
Yeah. Joe Milton is going to be 25 years old this season. So yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. Blink
That was
182
probably
announced a tour today.
yeah, that was probably more Joe Milton than I bargained for, but it's been weighing on me.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah.
There's no other real Patriots news, but we were texting about this earlier.
Hmm.
They're Blink 182 is playing in Arkansas. They're playing two Missouri dates. They're playing in Guilford, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Um, like there's like an A market tour. There's a B market tour. This might be like a D market tour that they're on right now.
Yeah, because it's not just like Little Rock, Arkansas, which
No,
is the only place I can. It's Rogers, Arkansas. You got Noblesville, Indiana. I'm not familiar with Noblesville at all. Their New York date is Darien Center, which I thought was a venue, but it's a place. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Guilford, New Hampshire, as I told you, the worst concert venue I've ever been to. So I don't intend to go to that one.
Rogers, Arkansas. I like don't even see a big city around it.
Well, it's Arkansas, so that's kind of a misnomer to begin with. This
Where is?
podcast, when you search it, it looks like, oh, what was that movie? Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah.
The picture that shows up when you search Rogers, Arkansas, looks like that. It's like a town made to look like the 1940s and unchanged.
So Little Rock is 3 hours and 4 minutes away from
Okay.
Rogers.
Maybe there's a really cool venue there. You know, you never know.
I mean, there must be. It must be or unless they're playing a thousand cap theater or something like that. But it's in
It's a
the
weird. It's a
Ozarks. It's got a
okay.
74,000 population.
Yeah, maybe it's like a big vacation destination. I
Oh,
don't
it's
know. This
one of
is
the fastest growing metro areas in the country. Of course.
okay. So yeah, some of the other, like they play Hollywood, Florida instead of Miami. They're
Right.
in uh, Bethel, New York. Am I reading that right?
I don't have
Bethel.
it pulled up, but I'll
It's
trust
very
you on that one.
blurry. Maryland Heights, Missouri.
Right, which is outside of
Sacramento.
St. Louis. I looked
They're
that
hitting
up.
Sacramento, which good for those folks in Sacramento. So yeah, weird tour. Won't be there at that one, which um, is okay. I'm okay with that. We went to Alkaline Trio 2 years ago,
Oh
last year
yeah,
probably,
yeah,
and they were good.
yeah.
I feel like Matt Skiba's run with Blink made him a much better live performer because he was rough when he entered Blink, and I think they were like, hey, first of all, learn how to play guitar, because that's tough. Remember when you would play like "What's My Age Again"?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They
It was
did
rough.
like a radio show, and it was like when I try to play it, and my fingers just don't quite get there. That was tough, but
Yeah,
that was a tight performance Alkaline Trio put on last year. So that'll be a fun show. I'm not going to Guilford for it. Sorry.
yeah. Bethel Woods Center for the Arts is probably where they're playing in Bethel. It's the at the site of 1969's Woodstock Festival. But there's like
Hmm?
basically nothing around there. It's
Ah,
I guess they can't play A markets every summer because, as we mentioned via text, they play Boston 2 summers in a row. But yeah, this was an interesting tour.
yeah, they did the Garden and they did Fenway. They should have thrown Gillette in there and done the trifecta, but I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
if they're
how
selling
many
out
people
Gillette.
could go. They're not
Yeah,
selling it out, no, but just for the say you did it.
there's a Warp Tour at Gillette once.
I didn't go to that one. I've been to Warped Tour at Suffolk Downs
I went to that
and
one.
the Brockton Fairgrounds. I
Went to that one
never.
too.
By the time it went to Mansfield, I was aged out.
Well, yeah, I was aged out by Mansfield, I think, but Suffolk Downs, Brockton Fairgrounds, then I think Gillette was when we were seniors in high school, maybe.
No, I think that was Brockton.
I think Brockton was juniors in high school.
Oh, so Suffolk Down was sophomore year.
I think it was sophomore year. It was the
Wow.
same year that Blink played there, I think. So I think that was like
Okay, that was soft. That
2001
might
or
have been
2.
freshman year. I think Blink played their freshman year. So I think it was Suffolk Downs freshman and sophomore
Oh
year,
yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
Brockton, and then
And then
maybe
Brockton.
I didn't go senior year. I was busy. I must have had
Brockton
something
was
to do.
convenient for me. I lived in Sharon. It was like 15 minutes away.
It was also way too small because they had like half of the track blocked off for like dirt bike racing.
Oh yeah.
So to get like from one merch tent to the next, or to get from here to 10 feet over there in the boiling heat could take like 20 minutes because
Yeah.
there was just too small of a space. I don't know how that was approved. Thumbs down.
I think they were struggling to find a spot for it, as evidenced by how many different places it was at.
Yeah. Speaking of Warp Tour, how have you felt about how that lineup is shaping up in the revamped Warped Tour that's hitting 4 spots this year?
I have not stayed up to date with what the lineup has been, but the first few announcements did not excite me too much.
No. Yeah,
I'm
I think
looking
this is
at
the biggest one is
Orlando
Orlando. Yeah.
now. It's also, I know they always announce it this way, but it's like so hard to find what bands you would
Non-alphabetical.
even be excited about on there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
Um,
million playing Orlando, but it's not quite what I thought it would be.
it's like Thursday, the Wonder Years, the starting line. Didn't know there was a band called Surfer Girl. Um, a lot of Pennywise is playing. Yeah, I don't know. Less Than Jake, that would be fun. Uh,
Yeah, I have a take.
Good
Not a big
Riddance.
not a big festival guy. Like the whole When We Were Young fest does not appeal to me in any way because those are all bands I'd like to see at like the House of Blues or Roadrunner,
Right.
where I can be 10 feet from the band and like feel the
Yeah.
music instead of being on a giant park or parking lot or field and be 6 miles away with a bunch of people who are like kind of paying attention but maybe not really. Like
Right.
I don't get the appeal. I don't really like large venue concerts to begin with, let alone when people aren't really. I don't know. I sound like a douchebag, but when people aren't really there for the band, they're there for like
For the
the
vibes.
experience. Yeah, like I've been to
Yeah.
Boston Calling to see Metallica or to see Foo Fighters, but like there's people that go every year just to like
Yeah. Just to be
sunbathe
there.
and like have a
Yeah.
drink and eat the food. And I'm like, I don't, that's your thing. That's not my thing.
Angel Dust, Comeback Kid, and Drain are playing Warp Tour. That's kind of cool. A Loss for Words. I think my band's played a lot of shows with A Loss for Words back in the day. Uh, good to see those guys on there. But yeah, not something I'm gonna travel to Orlando for. Even though I've got friends I could stay with. But yeah, not I do think there's an element of it would be fun if they did some bigger fest or bigger tour of a bunch of bands that like used to play Warp Tour back in like
Yeah.
2000 2001. something like that. Maybe that's what the Offspring and Newfound Glory were trying to do this summer, but ticket sales have not been great for that one.
You know what? Is none of those bands would probably want to do that because it seems like from all the stories you hear, touring on Warped Tour was like hell. Just living in their
Yeah, for
van
sure.
in the
Yeah.
summer, playing
Yeah.
and like didn't they used to do the lineup based on a hat? Like they just throw the names in a
Yeah,
hat.
they would
So
just, it
like
would be like complete chance.
you could be on a run of playing at like 2:30 every day, just
Yeah, you
dying,
could play
being
like
exhausted.
8 the night before and then like noon the next day.
Right. Outside of like two headliners, it was all up for grabs. But
Right.
do you know, Doug? You mentioned the Offspring's ticket sales, which we might have mentioned here. There are two Linkin Park shows at the Garden.
Hmm.
In I saw a story that they were Linkin Park was selling $35 tickets to a ton of shows because of some made up reason. And so there's two shows at the Garden for some reason, and the Thursday night show is pretty much unsold. It's as if
God.
it's one of the crazier ones, and I'm a big ticket scanner guy. I love to
Oh yeah.
scan the ticket. The Thursday night and $35, frankly, if you just weigh supply and demand, is way too much. They should be about $10 to $12 to get in to see fake Lincoln Park. All due respect to whatever they're doing out there. Not for me. Again, if it's for you, it's for you. I would
I've
not be
never
going
been
to
a
that,
Linkin
but
Park guy, so that's fine.
I liked Hybrid Theory freshman year of high school. That was a banger. But never really saw them in concert or anything. But I definitely wouldn't see them now on account of they're not Linkin Park anymore.
Yeah, and that's like really bold to say we're going to play the Garden twice
Twice.
because like Linkin Park was never big enough to sell at the Garden twice. And I understand they were probably like, "Hey, we reunited. People are going to love this and really care." But when you've got a new singer,
Yeah.
uh I don't know, diminishes interest a little bit. But now you're going to have me looking at those
Yeah,
ticket
it's
sales
incredible. It's one of the
religiously.
crazier ones I've ever seen. Like it's similar to the time I bought Limp Bizkit tickets at the Songus Arena and no one else did, and I kept checking and they ended up having to move it to the Palladium because no one bought tickets, which is crap. You know why? Is because there has since been a Limp Bizkit resurgence, and
Yeah.
it's all over Instagram, and everyone's like, "Oh, look at this crowd!" and it's sold out everywhere. They did Mansfield last year and sold it almost out, and it's like, man, I was just ahead of the curve on the resurgence of funny Limp Bizkit enjoyment. It's kind of crap because I didn't get to see it.
The so I'm looking right now at the Lincoln Park Thursday
Yeah,
date. They tried to sell out the entire arena.
right. It's a center
Also,
stage.
they
Center
did it.
stage.
They did a center stage thing so that like there's they're gonna have to adjust that I think to
Yeah,
maybe rope off the entire back
but I can
or
tell you this. If you look at Friday is really well sold. So I'm guessing that sold really well. And they're like, let's add a second date. And it turns out, because there's algorithms to all these things, it turns out the demand was exactly that one show. And it didn't pan out the way they have to cancel that Thursday show. I don't know how you go forward with that one. You
they're
can't
playing
have
with
that concert.
Paris. Yeah, that's also like to not go out with another like nostalgia act feels tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are like a smattering of tickets for that other one, but
Yeah, it's very well sold. Like there's
very well
no
sold. Yeah. So
um
there was enough interest for 20,000 people to go, but not for
that's it.
40,000 people to go.
There was enough interest for 21,000 people to go, and they all got their tickets.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The
All right.
Deftones are at the Garden tonight, and that one is pretty much sold out too. So concerts just sell out there. Like if you ask me, like, are the Deftones gonna bang out the Garden? I'd be like, I don't know. Are they? They are, and they did.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this, and this is a controversial subject, but we've talked a lot in private about the brand new tour and how they're
Yeah,
playing the Worcester Centrum Center. Now, what is
yeah.
that now?
DCU,
DCU. And I was like, brand new can sell out an arena?
and they did.
And they did, even though if you go to that show, you're kind of accepting the fact that you're seeing a dirtbag.
Right. And then more allegations have come out since then on Jesse Lacey. So there was like seven things. I don't want to like. You don't always know what's going on with the bands you see. You
Yeah,
know.
right,
But when you do know, it's obviously something you can't ignore.
right.
But to me, that was one factor. Like the set list is terrible. That was another
Hmm.
factor. It's in Worcester. It's in an arena. I don't really like arena shows, as I established. There was a lot of things working against it.
Expensive too because it's an arena.
Yeah, so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna skip that one. So again, if that's your thing,
Right.
15,000 people that place sold, so it's pretty significant, and that sold pretty well. Now,
Yeah.
granted, it seemed like there were a ton of bots buying up tickets, so we'll see what the resale market shapes
Mm.
up in the days leading up to it. But yeah, that was a pretty big one.
I was shocked by that. I did not know that they were an arena band. And yeah,
Well, they were
especially with
doing they
the
did Songus
allegations.
back in their day.
Yeah, that is true. But no, I
Oh my
I
God.
I'm a loser who
Uh,
only really liked the first two albums anyway, so when they were playing like three songs off of that, any interest I had would have been gone anyway.
no, I mean, I think their last album was really good, but I understand people aren't really gonna look into it on account of
Hmm.
Jesse Lacey.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, I gotta do some stuff. I gotta work a little bit.
Okay. I think we should
But
do more podcasting where we just Google map random places in Arkansas and be like, wow, not a big city.
well, I told you I actually played a show in Arkansas once when I was on tour
Yeah.
with my band Bear Trap. We played
Was it a
Arkansas.
bowling
We
alley?
played like I've been to all but two states, and we played shows in most of them. So yeah, Arkansas had some sort of scene back then. Apparently,
Yeah.
they still do for Blink 182.
Yeah, I think we should go to it personally. I don't know if we can work it out in the budget, but I think that's something we should be doing.
I think the vlog that we do from that would more than make up for the cost of. Although, can't imagine there's many direct flights to Rogers, Arkansas,
Probably not.
despite it having one of the a growing population.
That'd be a big car rental situation. I do. Before we end the podcast, Doug, I was just getting it. I want to give you a late '90s baseball name just to make you feel something, and it's this week's edition of '90s baseball name to make you feel something. It's Kilvio Veras of the San Diego Padres. There you go. Nice name.
Kilvio Veras. What about Wilton Veras, former?
That's another name.
He was a Red Sox third baseman, right?
Sure. I had MLB '99 on PlayStation 1, where the play-by-play announcer was Vin Scully, which
Oh
was
wow.
incredible.
Yeah.
And I just remember him saying Kilvio Veras a lot. I must have played with the Padres for some reason.
Kilvio Veras. Wilton Veras was a Red Sox third baseman. I think he had a good rookie season, and then was out of the league a year later.
It'll get you.
Yep. All right. Well, we will talk to you guys again soon. Whenever something happens with a 2000s pop punk band announcing a tour or a mock draft or any sort of news. Can't imagine a lot of news coming out soon, but we'll still be doing these things. So we'll talk to you guys next time. Rate, review, subscribe. Come. I should have said this off the top. We're so bad
Oh
at this.
crap!
Come to the draft party at Vitamin C in Weymouth on April 17th. It's from 7:30 to 10, and there's tickets on Eventbrite. We'll throw that in the description. All proceeds go to my LLS Visionaries of the Year campaign. So that'll be fun. Come to that.
I want to
But
throw
no,
something on that because Andrew was talking about it last night,
yeah,
and he was saying there's some great silent auction items, and
yes,
he's like I might even be bidding on some depending on how it goes. So I'm intrigued by that. So I think I'm gonna make it. I think I'm gonna be able to get there.
hell yeah.
Perhaps a silent auction item is Pat's chat in person. Highest bidder gets to chat Pat's with us for 11 minutes about the topic of their choosing, as long as it's not Pat's.
Pat's chat. They just have to sit in a room with us talking for 11 minutes.
Just post 55-minute Pat's chat.
Yeah, it'll be
I don't know
great.
what that's worth.
We've got like a Mike Vrabel football. We got Red Sox tickets. We got David Pasternak jersey. Some more fun things. So 100% great raffle items at that event. So come out, enjoy, drink some vitamin C beer, listen to us talk about the Patriots. We have more guests TBA. So yeah, good sell job on that. Probably should have done that maybe within the first hour of the podcast, maybe not at the hour mark. What you gonna do? We're bad at this.
We screwed up. We're
We
not
screwed
really
up.
good at this, but
No.
maybe next time.
Maybe next time we will be. Goodbye.